So I'm Lori from Temple University. I started Inside Out 26.5 years ago, and been teaching classes over all of those years from Philadelphia. So Chris.
Oh, hi, Chris Thompson here from Vancouver, British Columbia. I teach at Kwantlen Polytechnic. I got trained last May online, and I was supposed to do my first Inside Out this fall, but my partner had hip surgery, so we're going to put it to January 2025. I'm very excited about it. There's lots of action here in British Columbia about Inside Out, so it's pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to teaching it.
Great. Oh, and one other thing I think that would be nice for us to share. So I teach criminal justice. Chris, what do you teach?
Yes, I also teach criminal justice.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kenny?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kenny Butler. I'm currently a student at Cal Poly Pomona in the Master's of Public Administration program. Faculty coach for the Inside Out program, and happy to be here. I'm currently just got a fellowship for the Family Center for Social Change in Canada in collaboration with the Inside Out.
Good to see you, Kenny. Thanks. Richard?
Hi, Rich Clark from John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio. We just, as a group, finished our third Inside Out class one day, and I have taught 2 of the 3.
Okay.
And I'm a criminologist by training.
Great. Okay, thank you. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. I am Sarah Wolking. I teach at the University of Florida Levin College of Law, so I'm a law school professor. And I am launching my first Inside Out class this fall.
Great, thank you. Tara?
Yep. Hi, I'm Tara Gilligan. I teach at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. I've been teaching since I got my training in 2018 with 2 years out for COVID. And I teach in the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies program, so my course is hooked in with that.
Okay, thanks. Carl?
I'm Carl Malofsky. I am an emeritus professor at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania. I started teaching, it's hard to keep track. I guess I started doing Inside Out in 2017. And so I did classes like every semester until I retired about 2 years ago. Since then, I have been teaching in something called the Bucknell Institute of Lifelong Learning. So I've been taking senior citizens in to do Inside Out classes at SCL Cole Township, and it's been really dramatic.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. Good to know. David, long time no see.
Hi, everyone. David Harris, University of Pittsburgh School of Law, where I teach criminal law, criminal procedure and evidence. I've now taught 2 cycles of Inside Out classes, scheduled for a 3rd next year, and I teach them at SCI Green in Waynesburg, PA. Good to see everybody. Hi, Lori.
Hi. Okay, thank you. Paul?
Hi, that's me, right?
That's you.
Okay, so hi, I'm Paul Drous from the University of Michigan, Dearborn. I am a sociology professor, and I started teaching Inside Out in 2008. So I've done more than 10. I'm not actually sure how many, but between 10 and 15, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Inside Out courses.
Mm-hmm. You've been around. Inti?
I want to join the senior citizens group that Carl talked about.
Right.
You're welcome to come.
Inti, hold on. I'm going to leave you and Caitlin last, okay? Kate?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kate O'Brien, and I teach Inside Out at Durham University in the UK, based in the northeast of England. This is our 10th anniversary, 10 years of Durham Inside Out, and we teach Inside Out in 3 prisons. Durham Prison, Franklin, and Lonely Women's Prison. So a whole range of different kinds of prisons in England. So I don't know how many students have gone through the program, but many. And we taught through COVID, and we're back in prisons partially after a few quite significant issues that prevented us going into prisons. But yes, it's great to be here. And I've written some academic papers, or co-written with colleagues, including inside students, inside alumni, pedagogical papers that are based on Inside Out. So that part of the reason for being here is to learn from others that are researching and writing on Inside Out.
Okay, great to see you as always. Raina?
Hi, everyone. My name is Raina Moomin. I am a criminology professor at West Virginia University. Got my Inside Out training in summer of 2018, and I've taught one Inside Out class, which was in spring 2023, also at SCI Green in Waynesburg, PA. And I've also been a teaching assistant for 3 English Inside Out courses over the years. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm blanking on your first name, Alvarado.
Hi, my name is Alejandra Alvarado. I'm a math faculty at Eastern Illinois University, and I taught one class so far in the fall at Danville Correctional Facility, and I'll be teaching my next math class in the spring of 25.
Great. Okay, thanks. Sam?
Hi, all. I'm Sam Tifto. I am representing Notre Dame. I run a mass incarceration research lab here. I'm new to Notre Dame, but you guys probably know Mike Hebler. We run several Inside Out classes at Westville and also at the Indiana Women's Prison, I believe. And I have some personal experience teaching Inside Out style classes in the UK.
Okay, thank you. Francesca.
Hi, I'm Francesca Critelli, native Pittsburgher. I'm currently the chief of staff for the University of Oregon's prison education program in Eugene, Oregon. Our director, Shaul Cohen, was unable to make it today, so I'm sitting in his absence.
Okay, chief of staff, love it. Alexis.
Hi, I'm Alexis Rehrman. I work at Lewis and Clark College. I'm right up the hill from Francesca in Portland, Oregon. I am the program staff support for our Inside Out program here, which Rachel Hillier has been teaching for over a decade at Columbia River Correctional Institute. She's a professor of history, and we have this Mellon Foundation grant that's just coming into its last year here that has allowed us to expand the program. So for the first time, we're now offering an Inside Out class every fall and spring semester. So we have Reiko's history class, theater class, an upcoming, I think, photography or visual art class, and then 2 world literature classes, one that's French-based and one that will be taught in Spanish in the years to come. That's us.
Okay, all right, thank you. Teresa.
Hi, my name is Tressa Leopold. I teach sociology at Lake Superior College in Duluth, Minnesota. I did training in 2010. I've been teaching Inside Out since 2012. And this semester, I am teaching my 22nd Inside Out class. I teach at the Federal Prison Camp here in Duluth.
Nice, thank you. Okay, Anne?
Hi, everybody. My name's Anne. I'm one of the coordinators with Inside Out at the Inside Out Center at Temple University, and I primarily work in coordinating prisons and universities, instructors as well, in the Philadelphia area and monitor across Pennsylvania.
Okay. Haven't seen you in a while, a couple hours, right? Sandra? Sandra?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't hear you. My name is Sandra Mason. I teach at Bunker Hill Community College in Boston in the Criminal Justice Department, and I just did my certification last summer. So I haven't taught any classes yet. I'm still working on planning. I'm in the middle of writing a dissertation right now, so I have a lot on my plate. So that's kind of in the future, but I'm just here to learn.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we're going to need to move more quickly. So Kathleen or Kath, I'm not sure what you're called.
Is that me there? Hi, everyone. Yes. I'm Kathleen White. I'm a researcher based at University College Cork in Ireland, and I support an Inside Out class here. So I've been doing it for about a year, and our Inside Out program's been running since 2019.
Thank you. Marietta.
Hello, I'm Marietta. I teach criminal justice at RMIT University in Melbourne, Australia. More than 800 people have been through my programs over the last decade. I've also written lots about Inside Out, and I love this space, and it's so good to be here with you guys, and it's 5 a.m. So
Well,
lovely to see you.
Yeah, we do what we can. Welcome, Shoshana.
Good afternoon. My name is Shoshana Lucas. I am at Cal Lutheran University in the criminology department. I taught a few inside out courses at jails, a day reporting center, and then I'll be teaching one at a juvenile facility with the 18 to 25-year-olds, since we just closed all the juvenile prisons in California. So that'll be a new one. And then I presented at a number of conferences inside out, but I haven't published anything. But I do enjoy presenting at the conferences and just talking about just pedagogy and practices and stuff like that. Thank you.
Okay. Scott?
Hi, I'm Scott Rollins, and I'm also an emeritus professor from Arcadia University, which is just north of Philadelphia. I think I taught my first Inside Out course in 2015, and even though I'm retired, it's something that kind of gets into your blood, and I was hoping to get excited about what you folks are doing and any new directions that I might learn about today.
Okay. Good to see you. Audrey?
Hi, I'm Audrey Anton. I'm a professor of philosophy at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I've been teaching Inside Out since 2015. I also don't know how many. I'm going to guess like 8 when you count for COVID. And I love it. I'm really excited to learn from you guys today.
All right. Well, welcome. Leanne?
Hi, everyone. I'm Leanne Trapita-Sims. I'm a professor of peace and justice at Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. And I've taught 2 Inside Out classes, and I took the training in January of this year.
Okay. Judy?
Judy Ryder?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, hi. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm
worry about
Judy Ryder, St. John's University. I think I was in the first training and taught Inside Out at Rikers and at Queensboro State Prison, and have retired, and I'm working on a post-prison, oh, my video's not out, sorry, a post-prison college education program.
Post-prison and post-retirement, right?
Yeah, my new volunteer work.
Wow, good to see you.
And working with faculty to see if we can get somebody else teaching Inside Out through St. John's. So
good.
To revive that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we really need to Zoom. So Will?
Hi, I'm Will Anderson. I'm an student intern at the University of Oregon Prison Education Program. Nice to see all you guys.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Anika?
Oops. Hi, Anika Anderson, Executive Director of Project Rebound at Cal State San Bernardino, and also an Associate Professor and the Department Chair of Sociology. And I have not taught an Inside Out course yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Good to see you. Thanks. Aaliyah?
Yeah, hi everyone. Aaliyah Deach. I'm at Ohio State University, I think training 2 or 3 years ago, I forgot. Taught at Southeastern Correctional Institute here in Ohio, basically an environment and natural resources class, but I'm an applied social psychologist. So kind of why we do what we do and why we don't do what we should and who gets to enforce that should. Thank you all.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's me, Matthew Scott. Sorry for no camera. I'm on travel today. I'm the Regional Education Administrator for the Federal Bureau of Prisons Southeast region. I have partook in no Inside Out programs to date, although we have 22 institutions in the Southeast region, and I'd love to get it going, as many as we can. So all about purpose and passion and making some change. So I appreciate y'all having me.
Okay. Well, welcome. Absolutely. Mitch?
Hi, I'm Mitch Clearfield. I teach at Whitman College in Southeastern Washington.
in the philosophy department, and I've been teaching inside out classes at the Washington State Penitentiary since 2019.
Okay, thank you. And Caitlin and Inti, so I hope we haven't missed anybody else, but so Caitlin and Inti are from Salle University in Philadelphia. Caitlin is on the faculty there, and Inti has been working as an intern with her over the past semester. And so Caitlin is, and Caitlin, you can do more of an introduction of yourself, but she is going to be facilitating this conversation.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Lori. And I'm so happy to see such a wonderful turnout. Thank you so much for coming. I'm an associate professor of sociology and criminal justice. I went to Temple for my doctoral work and was able to work a little bit with the Greaterford think tank while I was there, and then did the training for Inside Out when I started at LaSalle in 2012, 2013 maybe, and have done a handful of classes within the Philadelphia jail system, one online during COVID in a state prison. And I'm really happy to have Inti, who is an Inside Out alum, working with me as well. Inti, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. My name's Inti. I'm a senior at LaSalle University, criminal justice and political science double major. I'm joining Dr. Taylor on a sabbatical to learn more about the nonprofit world and being an Inside Out student. It's great for me to be able to learn more about this organization as well. So thank you for having us.
Before we begin, could I just ask that folks, if possible, that we all put our cameras on, because community is such an important, dimension to Inside Out. So if that's possible, I'm hoping that we can do that. Okay, Caitlin, all yours.
Okay, yeah, so I'll give like a quick overview of how this work came to be. So I'm unfortunately now finishing up a sabbatical semester in which I've been working with a variety of nonprofit organizations and some government agencies doing essentially capacity building work. And I had happened to mention this to Lori, and Lori was like, well, would you be willing to work with us? And I said, of course. And so in meetings with her and Anne, they had expressed that one of the things Inside Out sometimes struggles with, particularly in efforts to get funding, is being able to clearly and succinctly communicate everything that Inside Out does, right? It's like one of those things, like, you know it when you've done it, that all of us who have taught Inside Out or have been in Inside Out classes can really say, like, here's all of the amazing work of Inside Out. But being able to communicate that in a really clear and concise way can sometimes be a challenge. So Inti and I this semester were tasked with, can we come up with essentially like a one-pager that says for all of these different stakeholders, what are the short-term and long-term outcomes of Inside Out participation? And so I'd love to be able to use this session to share our findings for that with you and get feedback, right? Before I do that, I'll maybe briefly describe our methodology for doing this. And I also want to point out first, I know some people were hopefully at the Inside Out conference for the 25th anniversary back in November, in which there's a faculty member at Temple, T.L. Hill, and his doctoral student, Vyas, who have been doing really incredible work. They've interviewed a bunch of stakeholders across the globe involved in Inside Out and have created draft logic models for all of these different stakeholders. And so they are really taking on this extremely in-depth, extensive work to identify the outcomes of Inside Out and the processes. So I want to certainly acknowledge and give a shout out to all of that work that they're doing, and point out that the goal that Lori and Anne kind of tasks us with is doing something that's a little more succinct, right, and compact, particularly with the eye of how can this align with funding priorities for foundations that they might be working with. So in order to do this, we really had a great start. A number of years ago, Melissa Crabb, who's associated with the Oregon Inside Out program, had developed this really extensive stakeholders chart and looked at all of the different stakeholders, short-term, medium-term, long-term outcomes, And so Inti and I really used that as our starting point and thought about how can we pare that down to get to something that's like a little more digestible in one pager. So we started from that. There was also one of the Inside Out fellows, Tori, who had done this really extensive report on the processes and outcomes associated with Inside Out. So we also kind of did a fact check against some of the things that he brought up. And then in developing these outcomes, the last thing we did was to look at on Inside Out's webpage. They have this community resources page that is this incredible compilation, and I'm sure some of you who have talked about publishing on Inside Out, your work is already on this community resources page, but it's essentially this compilation of a ton of books, articles related to Inside Out. So that was kind of the process we went through. Inti, am I missing anything about methodology? No. Okay.
No.
Before oh, good. No, go.
No, I was saying that you got everything on the nail.
Okay, cool.
Can I clarify one thing?
Please.
It's when you say community resources page, it's actually the resource community website. It's a whole website that only people who have gone through the training have access to. So just want to, but there's a lot on there. Okay.
Yeah, and way more besides just I should clarify, not just like the research that's been done on Inside Out, but that's a really wonderful resource with syllabi and all types of other things as well. Questions about our methodology or anything before we jump to the good stuff and look at the chart? All right, let me screen share. Can everyone see my screen? Am I good? All right, so you can see this is set up where we chose to focus and narrow it down to 5 different stakeholder groups: outside students, inside students, universities and colleges, instructors, prison administrators, and security staff. I want to point out that I don't think these are the only stakeholders that benefit from Inside Out, but if we were trying to get to something as like succinct and manageable for one page as possible, these 5 were the ones that really stood out to us as the most important. We also then tried to identify what was just one main short-term outcome and one main long-term outcome for each of these stakeholders. So I'll let maybe Inti talk through the ones for outside and inside students, and then I can talk through the other ones.
Yeah, so in doing this, we concluded for like the outside and inside students, the main short-term outcomes are essentially kind of the same. So by engaging with the different viewpoints in class discussions, the students learn how to evaluate different viewpoints and challenge their own assumptions, build an inclusive and connected learning community, handle conflict productively, and develop educational self-confidence, interest, and ambition. I feel like being an outside student myself, I kind of contributed to this as well. I felt as if we were all no different from one another, and we were all kind of essentially headed towards the same goal. Slight difference in the long-term outcomes, and I saw more of that when I was reading some of the work, I believe from TL Hills is the one that I did, where from the different interviews between outside and inside students, I started to begin seeing differences in what our long-term goals are or outcomes are. And so for outside students, we have more agency of becoming for like following towards social change in our future careers and civic engagement, emphasizing humanity. I also had said empathy, but we decided to keep it out. But humanity and those involved in the criminal legal system, and then for inside students to become agents of social change, but in the inside correctional institution and in their future professions in their communities upon release.
Yeah, so for inside students and outside students, we really felt like the short-term outcomes while they're in the class, immediately following their time in the class, and in the interest of everything we do of keeping the equity between inside and outside students in the class, that those should be the same. But as Inti said, some of the things that came out in other people's work really demonstrated that there might be different main long-term outcomes for each of those groups. In terms of the short-term outcomes for universities and colleges, they're able to provide a high-impact experiential community-based learning opportunity with remarkable student demand and satisfaction, right? For any of you who do any of like the admission days at your universities, being able to talk about Inside Out, students and parents' eyes always light up. And so if we're thinking about what are the benefits, especially in this kind of current era of what's the right word, troubles in higher education, I think this is a notable one. On a kind of a longer term, but perhaps also more kind of like philosophical level, being able to deepen institutional commitment to high impact experiential community-based learning while enhancing academic reputation, we thought was an important long-term outcome. For instructors, this is perhaps the one for me as an instructor I struggled with the most, to be able to keep this short and succinct, because I think of personally all of the ways that I benefit from this. But we settled on being able to develop skills in experiential, dialogic, collaborative pedagogy, and working with non-traditional students too, which as higher education evolves may in particular be of value. On the long-term side, being able to adapt traditional academic courses and research in line with this model of dialogic, collaborative, and experiential pedagogy. So I think many of us have had the experience that we teach an Inside Out class within a correctional institution, but then that fizzles out into our, regular traditional classes as well. Then lastly, the short-term outcome for prison administrators and security staff was the opportunity to provide a high-quality, low-cost educational and personal growth opportunity with institutional management benefits. And then the long-term outcomes would be a reduction in institutional misconducts and recidivism, and expanding access to higher education within the institution. So that's what we came up with. I would really like to see this as a starting point. And so I'm eager to hear the feedback from all of those of you with lots of expertise here about things that we are missing, misrepresented, totally think are incorrect. We're really eager to have your feedback. We have kind of gone back and forth between if breakout rooms would make sense. Lori, it looks like we are at 34 participants. What are you thinking? Do we want to stay as a big group and discuss, or?
I think the large group is fine, as long as people know that, it's time limited, so we have to be, careful not to go on too long, but that way everybody can benefit from the conversation.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah, for sure. Is it okay if in an effort to be able to see everyone, can I stop screen sharing, or do people want to like snap a quick picture with their phone to be able to reference back whatever would be most helpful?
Can you put the link in the chat?
I don't have a link to this, but I can go ahead and can you share a Word document in chat?
You can do like a shared link.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
And also snapping a picture makes sense.
All right. I'm happy to say it's been a while since I've had to like teach on Zoom, so I didn't know how to do that. All right. Thank you. I see Paul's comment about this looking similar based off of interviews with former students. That's great to hear.
I'd like to recommend that we verbally, talk this through rather than putting comments in the chat. So Paul, can you say more?
Yeah, and I was just doing that because I know I'm going to have to leave here pretty soon. But we did a survey, I think, when we did a kind of an alumni reunion, and was that after 10 years or was that after only 5? I don't remember, but we actually sent surveys to students inside, former students inside and outside, and we compiled the results. I'm not sure actually where they are right now, but thinking about these kinds, and I've had students that have done sort of qualitative studies of the Inside Out class, and this kind of this enhanced sense of agency is a thing that we've heard a lot from students, but I also really like that you've got the institutional impacts, because that's something for the guys inside that's always important for them to be able, to point to that and say there's benefits for the whole institution and for the officers as well. So I know those are things that we had talked about qualitatively in terms of the evidence we could show for the effectiveness of the Inside Out program, or the impact, I should say, because effectiveness implies there's like one sort of set of like, program outcomes that we're trying to prove. And I think this is kind of much more global. It shows the sort of spectrum of impacts that come out of the class, even though they're not necessarily written into the, into the course goals per se.
Yeah, and anybody else feel free to either jump in or raise your hand. Oh, I see Scott.
Yeah, first I apologize. I'm making bread, so I'm wandering back and forth here. I know it can be distracting. One thing that I didn't mention was what I taught, which is drawing, because I teach scientific and pre-medical illustration at Arcadia. And one of the things that I know, it's a minor goal or objective or outcome, but some of us are teaching skills that can be applied to the real world. So in addition to looking at the criminal justice system and all of this sort of philosophical stuff, which I think is very important and probably should be the primary goal of these Inside Out classes, in some cases, we're actually teaching the students, both inside and out, some marketable skills that they can use regardless of what happens in the next few years after the class is over.
Good. Sorry, I don't see your first name. Malafsky?
Carl.
Carl, thank
I'll
you.
just say two things. I was surprised in your list that you didn't have the word diversity in there, because diversity education is huge for my college. The second thing is, I'd be curious to know if any of you are working with prisoner groups that are philanthropies and that give money away. Because I am in a prison where the prisoners have given away $200,000 since 2021. And we do a lot of work with them on how to manage their charity.
Wow.
It as well.
Can
We
you
can't
say,
find.
Can
They
you say
said
a little bit more about that, Carl?
our superintendent says he doesn't think there's another prison in Pennsylvania that has inmate charities. And I've done some looking. I haven't found another prison in the United States that does. But
well, there are.
I'm sure there are. I mean, and I thought Inside Out would be the place where people would know. But they, when I came in, one of the first things they said to me is they wanted me to help them find places to give their money. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah. What else do you want to know? It's amazing.
And which institution is this?
SCI Cole Township.
Got it. Okay.
They mostly direct their money. They try to direct their money to central Pennsylvania. They have a feeling that they harm their home communities, but they can't give to their home communities. So, and we're a low-income area, so they want to do it here. They're trying very hard to make connection with community actors so that they can develop a relationship with them. And we're hoping this summer to have a bunch of community actors coming in to do Inside Out classes with the prisoners to talk about what kinds of things they could fund and interact with in the town. No, it's a 5-county area, 10-county area.
That's great. I think I see Kate next.
Yeah, I'm just lowering my hand. I'm so having facilitated Inside Out classes now for over like nearly 10 years. I'm really interested in the kind of emotional learning that goes on, particularly for outside students, and learning that's very kind of embodied, and what that means and brings to students learning about crime, security, surveillance. One of the prisons that we teach Inside Out in ordinary times, normally, students have to go through at least 9, 10 levels of different kinds of security that the feelings that brings to students, the emotions that brings, is quite a unique experience of learning that I think is something that I don't see much in the literature or spoken about, that Inside Out really brings to the foreground. And I think that's something that could be added to your really interesting list of outcomes, particularly for outside students. Sorry, I've forgotten your name again. So many people on the screen at the moment. So I wanted to kind of bring to the conversation the kind of embodied emotional learning that goes on as well for Inside Out. Thanks.
Can I make a comment to that? I wonder if, I know this is not exactly what you're talking about, but the heightening of emotional intelligence is something that I certainly have seen over the years. It's a little bit different. It's kind of related to what you're talking about, but that's something that I would want to add in.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment, Kate, and I 100% agree with you. I would be eager to hear from others also on, do we think that it's important to have the inside and outside students' short-term outcomes be identical? Or because in some ways, like that like aligns with the philosophy of Inside Out, right? But on the other hand, I can see, like, as Kate, you raised, like, this is an emotional learning that takes place for outside students in a way that's different than for inside students. God, I see Jerry next.
Yeah, just in the spirit of building on prior work, I put in the chat about 8 years ago, Research in Action did an evaluation looking at, I guess it was just for the Philly region, I believe, right? It was about 2016. So I put up the final report as well as the survey instrument. I just found some documents. I missed the first half hour of this meeting, so I'm sort of coming in. I have no idea what took place in the first half hour, but I figured these documents might be useful, and it's always good to look at, prior work. So you're welcome to. I'll see what other documents I have, and I'll post them as well.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Really helpful. Thank you. I don't recall if they were on the Inside Out community resource page or not. I don't know if Inti recognizes them. I don't recognize them though, which makes me think they're not
No,
on there.
I opened it up. It looks like something different. I opened it up. It's that.
Okay, great. Well, so double task then for us to check on our chart for it, but also maybe Lori add to the community resource page. I'll be sure to send later too. Great.
Absolutely.
Alexis.
Hi, Caitlin. I just to the comment prior about the embodied learning, which I think is such a transformational experience for outside students visiting and faculty and visitors. I think part of, somebody said, I'm surprised not to see diversity here. And I wonder if part of what is happening in that really transformational exchange is practice for the outside students navigating structures of power. I mean, it's such a like physically embodied experience, right? And unique. We are privileged to have it be unique in our lives, many of us who haven't spent time in a carceral space. But navigating systems of power with humanity. And so in that way, I think that those experiences are potentially, you could use that same framework for both your inside and your outside students. And I think about the potential for our change makers when you have a language and an experience about how to do that with grace, right? And with this stark understanding that everybody's coming from a different space. And so that's really unique, I think, in this framework. What I wanted to ask about is your university and colleges kind of outcome, and if people had experience with Inside Out being a powerful recruiting tool for incoming outside students. I see how much our students who are on our campus already are excited and clamor about being in this class, like, so word gets around, right? But I'm curious about if that's happening at institutional levels as students are considering your school, right?
I would say anecdotally for me, absolutely. And I have no data to back that up, but just the reaction of students, like you talk to students at admissions days and their parents, sometimes parents are a little wary, but the students are extremely excited. Yeah. I believe Tara is next.
Hi, yeah, I put my hand up before you mentioned thinking about whether outside and inside students should have the same main short-term outcomes, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. So I was really appreciative that you brought that up. And my instinct is that they shouldn't, because I think that I see my students having such different kinds of growth during the semester. And, I don't even mean when I talk about what they go on to do afterwards, but that, I mean, a lot of my students are women's gender and sexuality studies majors, so they come in with a ton of theory. They know a lot. They're very active in social justice issues, as I'm sure most of our students are. But they come to this class and they have a wholly different kind of experience, and they're learning in some ways. Like this came up particularly with my class this year. A few classes into it, they wanted to know, can we meet outside of class and can we just talk about some of these things that we're not getting to talk about enough in class? And I had to say, absolutely not. And here's why, right? This is not for you to, like to double down on your theoretical knowledge. This is for you to be in the same space at the same time, doing the same readings and learning how to navigate with people who have had different educational experiences. And those educational experiences are lived experiences, right? So I feel like my outside students they learn something about learning that is different than what my inside students learn about learning. What my inside students learn is a vocabulary, a way to talk about things, right? The camaraderie of being in the classroom. They learn that they're smart, right? They learn to think differently. They learn to take responsibility for the readings. And I think all of those things are, like, you might be able to say, yeah, that fits in with challenging their own assumptions, but I think that the progress that goes on in these classes is somewhat different in both. And if we're thinking about different long-term outcomes, I think we might want to be sensitive to the different short-term outcomes too. And I always tell my students, our goal is to do this equally, but equal doesn't mean that it's the same for both, right? You're learning something different and inside students are learning something different. So that would be my suggestion. I think these are really helpful, but I would be inclined to pull those apart a little bit. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm being slow because I'm like furiously typing notes. Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate those insights. Yeah, thank you. Leanne?
I think Tara's pretty much said like what I wanted to say, but I think in terms of a language of equity, I mean, one other thing I think I've been thinking a lot about is, say, Illinois landscape looks completely different from Pennsylvania landscape in terms of politics, a lot of things, right? And what we can do inside. So I also think like in terms of trying to reach for sort of a universal or national kind of statement, I think we have to consider sort of regional differences, political climates, even international or transnational contexts.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, in some ways we could think about, could we do a separate outcomes chart for every state, for every institution, for every single, I would argue this is so different even for each class, right? And so we hadn't really thought about that. Thank you, Leanne.
Caitlin, I know you're furiously taking notes, but we will get a transcription of this. So just so you know that.
Okay, thanks. Marietta?
Thank you. What wonderful work that you are doing, Caitlin. So well done. It is always very difficult to try and explain something so big and wonderful to people who are brand new. So you are absolutely right about that. I think that there are some outcomes for inside and outside students which are similar. Say, stereotypical language, for example. I mean, this is just a very simple example. So I think it would be okay to talk about some similarities, but also some differences. And I would also agree with most people who've spoken thus far that there are really different outcomes, both short and long-term outcomes. And I see them being dependent on who people are, with kinds of, how do they come into this program in the first place, in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their thinking, in terms of their, background, etc. So I think that I wouldn't be thinking, oh, what are the same outcomes? Are they the same? Are they different? I would be looking at, what are they? What is the research out there saying that these are? Doesn't matter if they're different or the same, but what are they? So I think that's really important. Yes, they differ from class to class, state to state, country to country, but I think there is this whole language of still similarity, I suppose, that you can definitely try and capture, with a caveat on the bottom saying, of course, these are not going to apply each time a person teaches a class. However, these are overall, 25-year worth results that indicate something like this. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense in my mind. Thank you, Marietta. Teresa?
Hi. So I
No,
wanted to,
I'm in a
I
meeting,
wanted-
right? Yep.
somebody's not muted, sorry. So I just wanted to add a couple things that I've gotten from Insight students in the past. And maybe this is similar to things that we've mentioned already, but I noticed that a lot of them feel sort of very empowered for the first time related to education. It sort of awakens in them this interest in learning. Many of them have had negative educational experiences in the past. And so now all of a sudden they see benefit to learning, and they become very empowered as a result of that and start questioning things. And I think that's great. I've also had Insight students share with me that the class gives them an opportunity to connect with people that are roughly the same age as their own children that they might not have been in contact with recently, and they feel very distant from. And it helps them learn a little bit about a generation of students that they have, a generation of people that they haven't been around. And they appreciate that opportunity just for that interaction. And at least at the facility where I'm teaching right now, the majority of the men that are in my class are within 5 years of release. And so the opportunity to practice these social skills and interaction is really important for them. And at least in the Federal Bureau of Prisons right now, reentry and reintegration is a big concept, and they're putting a lot of emphasis on that. And so that's something that my institution in particular really values.
So I'd like to speak to the first thing that Teresa just said about learning differently, or learning, I guess that's how you put it, learning differently for the inside students.
I think they, the outside students are already seeing the benefits of education because they are enrolled in college and university programs. For inside students, this is an opportunity that they didn't know they were going to have when they came to prison, and suddenly they have it. And they might not know exactly, they're not maybe sold on the benefit of education until they are in the class and start to be immersed in it.
Right. So I'm not challenging that at all. One of the things that strikes me in terms of the outside students that I think we see a lot is that they are not used to learning this way. They're more used to, being taught, I'll put it this way, being taught at, and having to, take in information, regurgitate it out on a test. And so for a lot of people who have gone through years of that, to be asked sometimes for the first time, well, what do you think, is really fascinating. And I find, like, when we talk about the idea of finding voice, at least in my experience over the years, it is in some ways, for different reasons, more difficult for the outside students to find their voice. It takes a little bit longer because they haven't. So it's just a different angle in terms of what you're talking about, but a different way of learning, a different way of processing. for the outside students.
Yeah, and I think I will add to Lori's comment. One of the things we really struggled with for both inside students and outside students is the right type of wording to represent like finding your voice, because it's not like that they haven't had a voice, but it's like maybe having your voice amplified or what. So if anybody has suggestions either in the last 5 minutes or so that we have, or send to us via email would be helpful. We've really struggled with that language as well. Go ahead, Audrey.
Thanks. I'm already screwing up the hand thing, so I don't know how to lower it. So for that last one, I guess I would say you could say that students are finding a multitude of ways to express themselves. I think that many of our students have their first favorite best way and they stick with it. And so you could maybe express that in a way of the flexibility of modalities of expressing yourself, not just writing, not just speaking, but also dialogue and all that. And I'm not sure if Mitch has had this experience too, but one thing I was thinking of as a philosopher is a lot of my students are not criminology majors. And so one of the benefits of my outside students get is myth busting. I have a lot of outside students that like, you know, they have been raised, I'm in a red state. So they've been raised to think, oh, 3 hots and a cot, prison's great, you know, and they don't know things like prisoners have to buy their own shampoo and prisoners do not get minimum wage at their jobs. They don't even know that prisoners have jobs, you know. So I think in a lot of ways, one of the benefits that I found for my outside students is many of them have absolutely no idea how the incarceration system works in this country. And so it does in that way make them more aware. And my last thing I want to add, and I don't know, this is more of a problem and I'm looking for solutions. Being somebody who is in a red state, who has just gone through legislation trying to kill DEI programs and whatnot, how do we market this in a way where what you and I know is the good benefit isn't the thing the politicians don't want? So for example, everything you're saying sounds exactly like what Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul hate. So it's like, oh yes, they'll be more enlightened and they'll care about people more. And they're like, ooh, I don't know. Yeah. So I mean, is there a way to package these same things where we could make them, and I know I'm a philosopher and you wouldn't expect this from me, but more marketable? Because I think that we are all very idealistic about this, and we know that these things matter. But I'm afraid that other people need to be convinced by more utilitarian means. So maybe highlighting the fact that not only is recidivism going down, but that means fewer victims in the future. Highlighting the increase in safety to the whole community, and also just finding ways to say the exact same thing in a coded dog whistle way, where a person who cares about humanity hears the truth and what we want them to hear, and a person who thinks that the humanists are the enemy don't get that side. Does that make sense?
You know,
A very
I would
pressing
make a
concern.
suggestion. How would you feel about facilitating or co-facilitating a Zoom about just that?
I'd be happy to, but I would be lying if I said I had any answers.
No.
As long as I can be completely Socratic and just ask questions, yes. I'll be happy to.
Well, let's think about that, because that actually is a real need right now. Okay, so let's be in touch about it.
All right, great. I think we're down to a couple minutes, but we have 3 left. So if people can be brief, Aaliyah, Jerry, and Shanae. I apologize. 2 of those I may have mispronounced, so correct me, please.
Shoshana.
Shoshana, thank you. Go ahead, Aaliyah. Or
yeah, sorry, I just come off mute. I think I was going to echo Teresa a little bit in the comment that Teresa had made, but I was thinking about it from the instructor standpoint. So it's not, the specific comment was in relation to how students have experienced the educational space and how that has often been a negative context. But I think that I work in the environment natural resource space, and for a lot of people that is portrayed as a very white space. And a lot of the environmental harms that occur are in communities of color. And so it has really made me think about whose stories that I'm sharing in my classroom context and sort of how I'm sharing them. So not necessarily just having like academic articles, but maybe doing more podcasts from, different people that represent the communities that are impacted. And so I wanted to acknowledge, at least, especially since we're a group of instructors, that we have not at all talked about the outcomes from the instructor standpoint. Somewhat the main long-term outcome probably represents what I was saying, but I was just thinking from the content perspective, I'm not sure that that's represented yet. So.
Appreciate that. Jerry?
Yeah, three quick points. One is I really liked what Audrey just said. Mythbusters, I think, is a great focus, or so, is part of this. Number two, I really like what Lori was saying, and one of the things that I noticed over the years that as education becomes more technologically involved, kind of the stripping away of technology really has kind of a profound impact. And the third point is, in my experience over the years, I always loved getting any outside student who professed that they were very interested in becoming a prosecutor or a police officer. And so the third point is, I think it would be interesting to not lose sight of subpopulations within, student groups, because I think there's going to be differential effects, and it's just something to consider as you're setting this up. Thanks.
Thanks, Jerry, and same on the last part.
And I just wanted to add, I agree with what everyone's saying here, and I want to commend you on this work, because it's something that's valuable when we're writing grants and we're trying to kind of have a general understanding of how to share the language with the different stakeholders. The one thing when I read through it, when I've taught courses, it's usually with a one course where there's not other inside out classes happening. There's often not other college classes happening. And when you do that questionnaire, why do you want to take the class, right? They get to your short-term goals is language they eventually students might get to, both insiders and outsiders, once they finish the course. But hands-on, like the community students or insiders, like, I'm taking it because I need assistance in being able to record. Like, they need tangible. So I know it's in there somewhere, but I just want to be real authentic to make sure that it's not, they do want to learn how to handle conflict, right? That's part of life, but let's be authentic in that they're taking the course, both outsiders also, they want to have an experience, right? They want to be able to grow up on leaving college. But then a lot of insiders and community students really want support in being able to transition to the next step. So I know that's in there, but I just thought I wanted to just share that, just to be authentic about some of the experiences that folks are having. And again, mine haven't taken any other college courses, so this is their first time. They're like, I'm taking it because I was told to take it, but I know I'm going to get something out of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's the tangible aspect that is such an immediate need for the inside students in so many ways, I think is something we are missing, that I'd like to think about. All right. I think we are about out of time. This has been extremely helpful. I can't wait to kind of circle back with Inti, circle back with Lori and Ann, make some improvements based off of all this feedback, and maybe even be a future iterative process. I don't know. Lori?
Does anybody have any last words they want to offer? Oh, Jerry, say it out loud.
Okay. I just finished typing. I didn't know if I was going to get a chance to, because I'm mindful of time. But I think this is such a wonderful platform for discussing inside out issues, because everybody involved with this is, of course, so passionate about this, and maybe putting something out on the listserv as a resource / opportunity for folks who want to discuss a particular topic with the broader inside out community. So we don't have to put together a conference. It's just like a 1-hour session. Whoever wants to join can join, and you end up having sort of a worldwide potential audience to discuss, experiences and ideas, etc. So
Well,
just a thought. It's a
Gary,
wonderful
we're
platform.
already doing that, believe it or not. I mean, let me just say that this was inspired. The idea of doing Zoom conversations was inspired really by the anniversary, because so many people who were there said, of course, they said, "Oh, can we do this again next year?" And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, it'll kill me." But but I said, we can certainly keep conversations going about lots of things. So we already have set up. We just haven't publicized them yet. Another 6 to 8 Zoom conversations throughout the summer, and on all sorts of different things. So you'll be getting that information probably within the next week or so.
Okay.
And so I'm glad. And Jerry was not set up to say that. I'm glad that that you did, and I'm glad that we're doing it, because I agree, absolutely agree.
And maybe we should send out. We don't want to overload things, but maybe we should at some point send out an announcement of just, hey, anybody who wants this kind of resource, we're open to it.
Yes, and we'll also,
because they may not know it, others may not realize that this is something that, they can ask for.
Right. We're also making it available. That's why we're recording all the sessions, because we want to make them available. Several people got in touch to say, "Oh, I am so sorry, I'm missing this. Can you record it?" And so we'll put the recordings on our website.
Oh, that's great. And then I can listen to the first half hour.
There you go. You'll hear a lot of introductions, actually, which frankly, I think are very important.
Absolutely.
So, Caitlin and Inti, do you have any final comments?
Just thank you for everyone. We had no idea where we were going to have like 5 people or 30, and we had over 30. So I'm thrilled to have all of your expertise giving us feedback.
Yeah, no, thank you guys very much for having us. If you ever need any help with any research, I have a free summer, so please email me. I'm happy to help
Be careful,
anybody.
Inti, putting that offer out there.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
I gotta build that resume.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And Caitlin and Inti, thank you.